What up, sir? How we doing, man?
Doing pretty good. I think last time was a pretty scrappy background, so I,
You
wanted to,
professionalized, man. You professionalized
yeah,
big time.
with the
Are
shirt
you
on.
are you living in a castle now or something? What's going on?
No, I'm not. I
Okay.
didn't get the castle. That's a long story. I'm at a friend's place where actually the team's on site right now. In spite of like the wall in the background, it's less bougie than it looks. It's just like a really good wall if you want to take calls.
Hell yeah. So great. So you're the founder of Multiplier, which is a gaming platform that moves markets with every win. So obviously there's a lot more to it. So I wonder if you could give us kind of the 30-second elevator pitch for Multiplier.
Sure. So what we're doing is, look, there's hundreds of millions of deposits going into iGaming and related verticals in crypto on chain. What we want to do is make that model more fun and less extractive. I want to take all of those deposits and we designed a system where these kind of games can actually move markets and token communities or people who even create, let's say, prediction market. They can get this arbitrary liquidity and basically, enable it. They can take gameplay volume and use it to market make their assets or push the price up of an asset or provide liquidity to a market. So we're taking like this super Lindy behavior, putting it on chain and trying to create like a financial engineering system around it.
Got it. And why do you see a big opportunity in games that move markets? Like, is that the value prop for end users, or is that more about kind of the marketplace dynamics?
It's more of a value prop for the end user, right? We know that's an enormously huge market, a completely, I would have to say, mispriced market if you actually look at it in terms of token performance. If you look at tokens like Shuffle, et cetera, we wouldn't necessarily consider ourselves gamify or gamify. What I just really care about is third-party developers launching these cool experiences that the end user can enjoy, but we don't, we're not extractive in terms of fees. It doesn't just circulate within, some play to earn token. We take that money and the vast majority of the money the users spend, we end up, injecting it to the market. So to give you like a very brief example of how this loop can actually work for spot market tokens or meme coins is you can literally have games that are negative EV, but because we inject liquidity in these tokens, they appreciate in value and it kind of like flips the entire like the entire payoff function. It actually becomes positive EV. So how I try to explain this to a friend, imagine if you have blast season every 2 weeks.
Right. And what does the game catalog look like today? Like if someone goes to your site, or when it goes public, they go to the site, what kind of games can they play?
A lot of different games are inspired by the most performative games in this particular category. You have loot box style games, gotcha games. You have more targeted games if you want to DCA into a token, which is actually a behavior that we've seen from users before. Initially, we just started building out these games on top of the system. We want to make sure that the system works. We've transacted, if I'm not mistaken, or given out in rewards about $20 million, which is really cool. And that's just over 5 months on a niche L2. So really what we're doing here is, there's like an ecosystem of third-party developers, of asset deployers, asset holders, infrastructure partners like Radium. And really what I would just want to accomplish with the system is take that volume that isn't really getting circulated around financially and make it useful, right? So it doesn't just stay on a gameplay level, but we can actually use it to prop up assets or make markets. And so far, it's been actually working out pretty well.
Yeah, I'm curious maybe what you've learned being in closed alpha for the last few months. And I guess what, like on the positive and negative, maybe.
You really have to know what kind of user you're looking to attract, right? I think that goes for anything. Not everybody's attracted to InfoFi. Not everybody's attracted to prediction markets or perpdexes. And so not every, potential persona will be fully aligned with what we're building here. But if you find the right people, we know that volume, revenue, fee generation in crypto for on-chain products, especially those that have a consumer surface, it really is, power law distributed. You can have 100 people using your product and it's an 8-figure business, or it's 8 figures worth of token buybacks for a token. And I think that is, especially for people who haven't built in the space for a long time, that's something they ignore.
Right.
So historically, our team has done 4 product releases, not even under like the same thesis. And every single one of them has, gotten to like 8 figures of TVL or generated $10 million of volume. So I think we have a pretty good intuitive feel or gut feel about how to build like a good hook model and what kind of users you really need to target to get the flywheel kicking off and going parabolic.
Got it. And who are those users?
There are a couple of different user personas. So if we just focus on the end user and don't really focus on the other stakeholders, because, for them, it's, they get arbitrary liquidity or arbitrary volume, but I don't really want to use those complicated terms. The end users, frankly, are people who want to use the games to DCA the tokens. We've seen that happen. But people who actually enjoy these kind of experiences, they use similar products. But in this case, hey, it's like you have this fair wagering component, but the spot market assets, they almost act as like a lottery ticket without, being a lottery ticket. But because our system constantly buys these assets from the market and we transfer it straight to a user, it creates a very interesting dynamic that I don't think any other product that has been similar or is operating in a similar vertical, that I don't think anybody has really delivered on this kind of value proposition. So what we've seen over the past 10 months is a bunch of teams, also very well-funded teams like Series A or Series B teams, launching like these kind of like, I would have to say, wagering mini games. Deploying like these kind of products without really thinking about the incentive design and how to create like good distribution architecture from the flows that you're generating, most of those products flop. And I think with the system we have now, we know that we can like generate network effects on day one. And if we can get that done, then the system becomes self-propagating because everybody just wants, a piece of the pie.
Right. And are those the same users that, prediction markets, trading platforms, crypto gaming projects are all fighting for? Or do you see this as being distinct? Okay.
This is like the interesting thing on why we decided to continue operating in this vertical. It's hundreds of millions of deposits are going into like these, wagering platforms, et cetera. A lot of people ignore this market because, you want to build products for smart people. Like, I'm not saying that people who use our products are in any way intelligence-wise impaired, but, it's just fun. It's just a relaxing experience. Like, I had a conversation with a past power user back in the day, somebody who uses these products and spends like $500,000 every month or on like gotcha machines, et cetera. There is a market that you can capture by just providing people with fun experiences and leveraging the value that they provide to the system to have some kind of like systematic benefit, right? Obviously, you can't form a thesis, but there are edge cases that you can look at within the system to like optimize, find edge, or acquire some kind of financial gain. For example, Josh, if, a token that you held, and if, we just assume that we stick to like very long tail assets, if the token that you held is currently being featured on the platform and you play for it, it's almost like a delta neutral strategy, right? If you lose, it still goes up. If you win, it goes up too. And it kind of like sets off the negative EV.
Right. Yeah, interesting. So you started off building on Blast, and then I think you're on Abstract, and then now you've settled on Solana. So I'm curious, maybe for you to reflect on your experience of building on those chains, and curious what they didn't offer that Solana does.
I think the first release I did was actually on Ethereum mainnet during the NFT finance era. So we try to do basically build Yearn for NFT finance. So I'm really happy what Adam did with TokenWorks. We've been chatting quite a bit. I think it really reinvigorated that OG community because, there really wasn't any innovative design for the past 2 years. But yeah, it's, we grew as a team. We grew in our expertise and our abilities to push product to market. And you just, you go one step at a time, you validate a certain thesis. You can go a little bigger, but not too big. Then you validate that thesis. And I think a reason why a lot of teams are afraid of, let's say, leaving incentivized chains is because, you don't have a top of the funnel anymore, right? You don't have chain incentives, propping up your product, right? I think with what we design now and the platform feel that we have, it solves for those issues. And, Solana is basically the biggest market that we can go after. It's where our users are. It's where we can generate the most amount of volume and also have the most positive sum impact, which is really what I want to deliver with this product.
And if you're talking to a pre-launch founder and they're trying to figure out what chain to launch on, would you just recommend going to the place where all the attention and liquidity is, or do you see value in launching in kind of these less competitive ecosystems?
Yeah, so I think that's a really good question, Josh. I actually give me 5 seconds to think about it. So I think it really depends. I make those decisions because I wanted to incrementally test out the value proposition and de-risk things, cash test them, make sure that these kind of products are actually revenue generating and we have like good retention curves, right? So we've had products that, you know, maintain 1,000 or 2,000 daily average users, which is actually a lot for an on-chain consumer app. I would actually like a year ago, I would say go and launch on an L2 and then figure out the right plan. Don't lock yourself into an exclusivity agreement. Don't take money from an ecosystem. Don't take grants. Just have belief in yourself and conviction in whatever you're building. But nowadays, I think like the L2 trade is dying. I don't think, you know, you don't see that much liquidity or usage on them. So if I was, you know, launching something new and would be my first release, I'd honestly just go straight to a base Hyperliquid or Solana, depending on what kind of product you're building. I don't think the L2 incentivized ecosystem stuff works anymore.
Yeah, got it. That makes sense. I'm curious how your experience fundraising for a product like this has been, and whether you have any advice for founders fundraising right now.
Always price in more time, like price in a little bit more time, you know. Try to find really the best people who understand what you're building. You know, investments can be made on comp, you know. You can fund a perp dex, compete, you know, with 10 other perp dexes out there, or we just need to thematically get exposure to the prediction market space. So we're gonna fund a B tier team. You know, we know, you know, that happens all the time. But as we know, like beta doesn't really work, right? It really is about capturing, you know, alpha teams building in a specific category, or looking at teams that are, you know, designing something new and trying to aim for category creation. Even if the execution risk and market risk is a lot higher. So really, the best advice that I would give to anybody is really just make friends. Really, like the people who are, let's say, aligned with us now, those are people that I frankly met just, you know, hanging out, spending time, building friendships, not walking up to people. I've never done that. Like the worst thing you can do is go to an event, let's say Token 2049, and you're at some event, you see that somebody's a VC and, you know, just blurt out your pitch. I think it's extremely socially calibrated, and, you know, relationships are everything, and just take time to build those relationships. Let those people see how you operate, how you think, how you make decisions, how you think about product, and they will lead into you naturally. You won't have to sell anything.
I think that's a hell of a point. I think both the, like, you know, build something unique and interesting that can, you know, get the VC excited. Like, you know, we're all inundated with prediction market pitches or launchpad pitches.
Me too.
So are you. And then I think also your point of just like, you know, build relationships, and, you know, being at a fucking happy hour and getting pitched when you're trying to just hang out with people is
really annoying.
Is the worst.
Like, frankly, if I go to a happy hour and like, I know that one of my favorite bars in New York is like, what's the name of that bar? It was like right by the Solana HQ, like that entire building. And honestly, I just go there with my friends. And, you know, frequently you have like these events and somebody just comes up to you and like, they don't even ask you anything and they try to pitch you on their idea. It's a little bit off-putting. I understand like it comes from a good place because, you know, we all want to make it. We all want to build something cool. You're trying to build alliances. You're trying to, you know, build relationships, get the support that you need. But ultimately it's like build relationships, just be a good person to the greatest extent that you can. Try to find ways how you can add value to people, even through introductions, even to VCs, right? Yeah. Whether it's a market maker, whether it's somebody that can, you know, help out with a centralized exchange listing, which is, you know, why everybody's going to Asia in the first place. If you add value, and if people see that, you know, you have value to add and you can execute well, they will naturally lean into you. You won't have to, you know, go on a 10-minute spiel about how you're building, you know, the next $1 billion company.
Yeah, I think it's actually like an under talked about reason or like factor in investing. Like, you know, VCs are investing in teams they want to roll up their sleeves and work with for a decade. And if they don't want to if they're going to dread jumping on like monthly calls with the founder, it's a much harder decision than if, you know, they're vibing and they're learning something. And they know they're going to have a good time regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. And those, you know, it just comes naturally. And I think a lot of people over-index on VC rejections, which is something that everybody goes through. It just might not be a good personality fit for that particular partner. Ultimately, you're not pitching to a fund. You're pitching to a person. You might not vibe with that person. That person might not like you. They are pattern matching for a different set of traits and attributes. But, you know, I wouldn't say that capital is abundant. Decision makers aren't. But I'm sure that there's a decision maker for anybody who is highly competent, really smart, and is aiming for a $1 billion idea. You will find somebody. You just have to hang out with those people. Have some fun.
Daily
And yeah,
affirmations.
yeah.
There's a decision maker out there for me.
I honestly, unless it's like look, there are bad ideas. There are really bad teams, especially in this industry. But if you know what you're doing, and if it's a good idea, and if there's a market for it, and you can actually execute on product and distribution, somebody will notice, and you just take your time with it and give them the space to get to know you as a person. And that will solve 95% of the issues that people deal with in fundraising.
Yeah, I think that's a hell of a point. Yeah, maybe last question before we let you go. How does the multiplier token fit into your product and business strategy?
We're not talking about the token.
Okay.
Sorry.
No tokens. No tokens.
Not yet.
No, not yet. Okay,
Not
cool.
yet. It's far too early, right? I close off the conversation. I don't think it's worth launching a token unless you're able to execute on 7-figure 80.
Is that my connection?
No, we lost him.
Oh, that is a hell of a cliffhanger.
The castle lost.
Yeah. The Wi-Fi in the stone walls. It's tough.
All right. Well, I guess we're just gonna have to move on and have him back to finish that thought. So
yeah,
we can.
Okay, we'll write you in TG, Lauris.
That was great.
Yeah,
I love so many sound bites from Lauris all the time.